Using disability as a metaphor for, using mobility as a metaphor for resistance, realizing non-disabled understanding of movement that disseminates mobility to fully political, it reduces ableism by conflating non-mobility with dissatisfaction, failure to change politics. Mary Ferry 5. Ableism plays as a metaphor of movements that the possibility constructed into pillars and dissatisfaction moving to move to act and feel fully with the right movement that is understood in ableist terms. Able body is capable of operating and strength that notices body norm, the analogy of disability, may metaphor for freedom and agency, the able body norm, the mobility, the movement, the defined imagine liberation, transformation, values, and state and understood notion of state that's figurative, disabled, doppelganger, the motility is imagined, many others signaling freedom, political action or movement, and agencies often have the construction disability as a whole to be the dependent relational structure program, the securing conscious, the relation to the critical postmodern subject, unfettered on the move, the independent and whole and wholly independence of the norm, only renders the dependent people, the caretaker, single class, this also makes them invisible, and the others perceive to have bodily integrity, the homogenous, different ritual experience of those left in the margin that concludes dealing with the disadvantaged structures, boys, 8. The human diversity cannot reduce the representative norm with the concept of the others understood the stereotype, either linguistic, particle integrity, the recognized meaning of the simple, the binary opposition, the same concept of the modarity, the self that you cut off with the soul, the material relation, the individual diverse existence, not only given the same way people always look in the category of the light of the other, the equivalent of their marginality, the laws keep it sustaining concept of disability and excluding how alternative renders disability. Campbell 3. Laws of play exist in the explicit role of subjectifying legal and sexual facility, the subjugation by allocating regulating population effect, discrete ontological categories, disability, sex, gender, race, and the subject to the sign of themselves in categories render divisible, discalculable, the fixation of disability with the legislative and case laws not established the boundaries that permissible inquiry established the legal fiction of disability in the first place. Alternative remedies of disability are not able to see fit within the prescribed fictions are barred from entering the legal and other discourses, and ableism creates a non-disabled body, the corporeal form for which others must strive for. Casting disabilities is the administrative being humanly as invert the ableist gaze about the examining disabilities is something is examine how the ableism produces and maintains a binary able body and disabled. Campbell 8. Simple literature contradict those attitudes and barriers that concern the subordination of people, disabilities, and liberal society, the state of reformation, the level of the function, structure, institutions, civil society, shifting values of the cultural arenas, and this is to produce the scholarship to give serious distortion, gaps, and admission to the government perception of disability, which describes the able body lens towards the disability that continues to examine the top of the perspective of the other jobs to reverse the shift our gaze and concentrate with the disability tells us the production, generous, operation, and maintains the ableism. Let us be deconstruct normality, which be assumed ableist normativity resulting compulsory passing with the failure to ask no difference in imagine human and to be being this differently by decent or ableist and is possible to look at the world from the inside out, the non-disabled stance of the ableism trends in the productive procedures, structured in the governing civil society, audience clearly the genealogy of the knowledge, that able and refers to the networks, the belief process, and the practices that the government's particular kind of self-embodied that projected this is perfect, subspecies typical, essential, and fully human disability because past itself as being human, the assertion of the ableism, the formation of nationalism, fully being human on the basis of the form, presumption the race is different from the species typical body and science norm. This is in the political theory. There's a reasonable, the reasonable man and body is also significant growth to a fabrication of reason the very soul that sweeps in life and the outcome in the instrument of political constitution. The house of the body. And ableism is driven by disgust and afraid of our own corporeality, inevitable death. We pursue ideas of perfectibility, stability. Disability is used to reassure the temporal able body of people of their status is clean, proper body. This results in the violence against the stable, and we begin to represent the epitome of what not to be. Hughes 12. Ableism, the network of belief process, and the practice of the epitome of the kind of self-embodied, the protected is perfect. Species typical, the essential and fully human, the clean, proper body, hygienic, appropriate, the civilizing modernity, the secure, distinct, closed, and autonomous, it embraces the human perfectibility as a standard that involves a curious, disavowed variation of what we are supposed to aspire to. Disability is the opposite of the ideal body, the disabled body, the permits the unworthy, the animal kingdom, clean and proper body, the disability is the epitome of what not to be. The consequence of disabled bodies equally excluded from the mainstream public habitus, the standard of the judgment with disabled bodies are invalidated and transformed into repellent objects of disability, modernity, the reproduced ontological household, the abject with this antithesis of the community and the communication community, any opportunity disability man plays to take in the heart of communication. The community is thwarted by the ableist sensitivities that are pressured down. Ableist discussed in the motion because of the failure of these non-disabled people that fully recognize their own fully is the form of self-aversion by taking the hide from our bodies and the own of humanity. We that hold ourselves the myth of the clean and proper body. The ableist how the body helps to make non-disabled people cope with their own fears about their rational vulnerability. So by invoking top of the disabled body, a foreign entity that is anomalous, chaotic, and discussing ableism makes the world alien to disabled bodies at the same time that produces impairment that validate experienced disabled people are expected to reject their own bodies and adjust to the cardinal norms of non-disabled people. The basic association with the reason, personality, human values is the hard exclusion and oppression of people with intellectual disabilities to Western the emotional and physical difference between oneself and the cause of this. A visual identity can be shared through the reclassification to humanize the aberrant body. The eugenics movement came out of the discovery of so-called objective scientific medical explanation of disability when people out there daily reduces something less than human the object of the hatred discussed like the Jews, Nazi Germany, disabled people during the word. Careers or eugenics would become this example of the Christian Guantanamo Bay they can be reduced from the bare life, the candidates for exclusion, torture, enslavement, extermination, genocide for the perspective of non-disability, disability signals the presence of impairment, and recent sickness, amongst other objection to death, and repulsive given body characteristics, civilization, who refuses point blank to celebrate it, and seeks to desperately disavow the socially disabled people come to represent those who not practice self-restraint, the threshold of repugnance, and narrows being rounded up and herded institutions, forms the kind of addictions, and clean up the disabled people of the streets and the carceral spaces that soon become denominated medical custodians, training, providing a mentally correction, and the alternatives to dream and disability studies, dreaming through the lens of disabilities, monitoring the waters of identity, emphasizing the relational aspect of humanity, allowing for politics and accountability that breaks the gap between academia and activism. Everett is 14. Darkness and more soothing against both the lowly sense, the upper and the twilight hour thoughts, and the part of the rest of the other harsh relates that they can go to possibility, the intensity, the possibility of dreaming, the complexity of identity, those forth of the evil and past, the simple, the forefront of the master sense, the transformative politics, these passes not put the damper, the struggle for transformation outside of academia, the radical thinking outside, without taking the collective to understand the complexity of intersectionality that live in it, crypts occupied Wall Street, Belly, Society for the Disabled Studies, People of Color Collective, Crip Hop, Neurodiversity Network, these attempts come from the disability studies to scholars that locate itself uneasily, yet hopefully the apprehensive founders of the academia activists and move past the guilt to necessitate the return to the relational analysis that engages the material of the difference of the specific historical context of the disabled and non-disabled subjectivities and the imagined possibility of radical short analysis of the very counter for the reality of the historical condition, the transnational capitalism, the transition to politics, that one of our lives that are often realized to exploit labor, oppressive representation, the painful exclusion of our lives, to push even more than sufficient, the edging, the dazzling, about the ideal transform to the counter for the practice, the partnership, the Netherlands filled with complicated, tenuous, the more accountable practice for the transform of justice that wants to end by dreaming not as an individual but as collective, the notion of justice that has emerged from the intersection of the community, the dreaming of disability justice, and intertwines with the racial justice, gender queer justice, the economic justice, sexual justice, by dreaming how the different skins are so intertwined to become more and slowly turn to the future would be hopefully greater, dreaming of the credible disability studies, dreaming about dreaming about accountability due to the disability studies coming to accountability. Activity membership is not a noun but an active verb. Difference is not an adjective but a noun. Community swaps cohesiveness for disruption. It swaps the romance for homecoming from the unpredictable of wandering. So it swaps the satisfying embrace for the safety of the risky promise of vulnerability. Forces the students to think outside the edges. Well, imagine the possibilities. Transnational material of the critical disability studies. Not think about theorizing about the living theory, the living structure of the magic. Hopeful, but not understanding a painful yet revolutionary presence in the training debate that allows can serve as a place to resist ableism by turning it to a place to desire disability, can disrupt traditional understanding of disability in the community, and loves to embrace disability debate. Chandler 12. Disability is not experienced in problem everyone all the time. Ableism enforced our culture, the sensibility, the pronouncement of disability studies, and enactment of correct communities with disability not recognized as sensible, the experience of correct communities in different ways, at different times, to different people. Correct communities come forward, the unstructured enactments, rather than being a structure of the institution or common identity. Correct communities are structured with the communal enactments they happen any time that the people work with the common desire to dwell with disability, expecting the enactments, the normative meaning of disability when disability is felt. Otherwise, the other people drawn to the well with disability feels differently. Correct communities come to accept that we can know and quickly who our community members are, the unpredictable, ever-shifting nature of a disability allows us to inquire what it means to be unstable. Disability it's also an intersubjective experience. It means the enacted between two members, one disabled or one not owned by no one, credited by both. The different geographic stories can be told through them. We can achieve different sense of space. Disability disrupts and can work those and we can understand communal structures for and begin the iteration. Surely know the predictable, identifiable, constant. Okay, going to the case flow. There is an inherent contradiction and non sequitur between the parts of the after they talk about the outside world and how immigration is policy, and inside the round they talk about how we do not have immigration policies happening in round, and we cannot talk about these things, but they do not talk about how they disrupt this happening around. They just posit a problem, but do not say how the inner workings of debate will be able to solve these things, and also they do not talk about how they disrupt the immigration, the status quo that is happening outside the debate. They do not solve either portion of the debate. Do not grant them that they are going to give up in the 2AC and be able to talk about how these things interconnect, because there is just a disconnect coming from the 1AC, so do not let them get away with the inherent disconnect on that. There's also no impact to that on the inside of the debate either. Okay?
Yeah, you good?
Okay, welcome for cross-sex.
Okay, so what about the, I'm sorry, what about the 1AC as a metaphor of mobility?
You talk about how people need to move and how immigrants are able to come to this country, but it precludes the question of who can't come to this country in the first part. You talk about your mother.
You say it's a metaphor, and we're talking about people actually being
that,
we're
talking
about
actual deportation. But the adjunct, right, all that vague discussion of objection right out there, the forcible exclusion, precludes the possibility that people that are immobile, that don't have the possibility to even make these movements in the first place, are valuable subjects.
Yeah, we're talking about deportation as an actual act the government does to forcibly relocate people.
Yes, like
regardless of who
like
you are.
that's bad, but there's
Yeah.
also people who would have never been given that contract because they are so we give them cognitively impaired labels and then just throw them in prisons and do not give them the opportunity to speak for themselves, to
Could
be
you please
something
give
other
an
than
example
themselves.
of that? Because we're talking about immigration discourse. Could you please provide an example in which what you're saying is true?
I don't like these things don't get talked about because people
talk
that
about
what?
people,
Yeah,
people
talk
that
about them.
people that are cognitively disabled are not allowed to speak for themselves. They are not seen to be real persons. They are excluded and they are put in insane asylums because people can't deal with them. These are not things that people say, hey, you're a person now, I'm going to let you go and speak for yourself and sign contracts. They see themselves as being too different to even reason with.
Okay, we'll leave that for a sec.
Okay.
This Hughes and 12 card says that like when we reduce people to something less than human, it's the equivalent of bare life, which is what the Nazis did to the Jews.
Uh-huh.
Why do we gotta make like the Nazi to the Jew jump without like recognizing that the 1AC is identifying people who are also reduced to bare life in the status quo today by the U.S. government and the debates?
Okay, I can understand why you think this is a huge jump, but when you look at the Nazi movement, the reason they were able to kill the Jews is because they experimented on the best ways to kill people on 275,000 disabled people.
Right, but
Disabled people.
But that's not the
They
only
used them as a
reason
way.
that they were able to kill the Jews.
Right, but I mean that was a pretty significant actual
Didn't they end like
development.
naturalization of Jews in Germany, like taking away citizenship?
Here's the bigger argument. Why does this matter in this debate?
Wait, why does disability matter?
No,
today?
not why does disability matter. Why does making the 1AC analogous to the Nazi movement matter?
Whoa, we're not saying that you're analogous to the Nazi movement. We are articulating an internal link that ableism and this specific view causes, right? If you win a no link, clearly you're not the Nazis, as well as you
So
probably
we have to
not
win a
the
no
Nazis.
link in order to not be the Nazis.
No.
But if
You
you
missed
know,
the
we
second
are.
part of my sentence, right? This is so we will. We are just articulating that ableism creates these mindsets that causes things like genocide and the Holocaust.
Okay. The alternative is to dream with disability studies. What does that mean?
It's to think about community in the context from disability, right?
Why do we have to dream it?
Right, because the present's already so painful in the terms of transformative justice, right?
What about people who can't dream because, like you said, there are people without cognitive ability to like think, so we don't know if they're dreaming. What about those people? Why don't they get to do the alt?
Right, I mean, the act of dreaming with disability studies is us imagining that in this rank.
So us, not those individuals with cognitive disabilities.
No, I mean, we're talking about the judge and us in the round dreaming with disability studies.
And seeing that they probably can't.
Okay. Yeah. Starting.